Good morning, everyone. My name is James Malonis, and I am your Central Area Director for the Ontario Real Estate Association and the 2021-2022 Chair of OREA's Young Professional Network. I am joined today by two of our committee members, two broker of records, and two team leaders, David Kurt and Anastasia Langiano.
Hey, James.
Good morning. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks for having us here today with you and with everyone. Welcome.
I'm super excited because I love the fact that both of you guys are not only broker of records of your brokerages, but team leads. So, David, you want to give us a bit of an introduction to who you are, where you work, what you do, and then we'll go over to Anastasia, and then we'll get a bit of a blend and see your styles and kind of go from there.
Perfect. Yeah, fantastic. So I'm David Kurt. I'm broker of record with Lake City Realty. I've been licensed for about 15 years, and probably about 3 years into my career, I started Team Kurt, which was under my old brokerage, Coldwell Banker. It was me and my dad, right? And I remember, taking those pictures with me and the white shirts and black ties and stuff like that, and really trying to fake it till I make it. I always thought like I wanted to build something like a team, and then I brought a few more people on. Shortly, probably about 3 or 4 years into that, I realized that that's not completely fulfilling, and I actually wanted to create my own entity and not have it under somebody else's banner. So I created my own boutique brokerage, and we run basically a team office at Lake City Realty. We have about 8 agents that work for us now. We grew from 4 to 8 over the last probably 6 months. So it's been a roller coaster ride and lots of learning. But yeah, that's we're in Sudbury, Ontario. Beautiful sunny weather out here right now. Lake City Realty, because we're a city of 350 lakes. So
I'm still surprised how many lakes you have. I know you've been busting me to get up there, so I'm hoping as soon as we can safely travel up to other parts of the country or province, I will come visit you.
We're putting the Sea-Doo in the lake this weekend. So,
and Miss Langiano.
Yeah, hi everyone. Anastasia Langiano. So I'm a broker of record, owner of Lepage Realty. So I've been licensed for about 6 years now. Newly broker of record, so that's taken on some new challenges and certainly a lot of new learning opportunities for me over the past few months. So yeah, I run a brokerage. We're 18 of us. I am a team lead for a smaller team. It's actually my brother and I are, partners, if you will. And what's so amazing is that within our brokerage as well, we're a very collaborative group. And where most franchise models, have individual realtors that kind of running their own little business and going that way, we're really good at sharing and supporting one another in, whatever areas we maybe sort of lack. And we have colleagues of ours that certainly have those areas of expertise. So yeah, I've been doing this for about 5, going into my 6th year now, and a really great group of agents. And we're located here in OREA, Ontario, the Sunshine City. So David, like you, we don't have that many lakes, but we have the boat in the water too. And we're actually just where Lake Simcoe and Lake Couchiching join forces and connect. So yeah, cool little spot to be.
I mean, just to make it fair, I have a lake too, Lake Ontario, but we're not talking about it. So we're going to talk about real estate teams. So I think the first question a lot of people have is, and we're going to kind of bleed into like a tier of questions. The first question I feel like a lot of people would have is, should I join a team? I just finished my real estate schooling. I just got my registration from RICO. What do I do now? Do I stay independent? Do I go to a team? So David, I know we were chatting kind of in the dark room before we started, and you made a really good point about training. So let's talk about, being new. Do you join a team or do you look for that? Like, where are you going to get that training from?
so this is, and like I'm a broker of record now. So people come and they're asking the questions like, what training do you offer? And everyone's like, oh, we offer Buffini at this office, or, we are like, and at the end of the day, a new agent, the most important thing that you can be doing is you can be partnering yourself up to be able to get an immense amount of training. And whether that's a mentorship, whether that's having a broker of record that's taking the time to focus one-on-one, or whether it's being part of a team, like that's how you're going to get those models. The tough part is, and like, again, this is probably not going to be a popular opinion. I created the boutique small office because the traditional model for brokerages is you have 100 people that are part of your brokerage and you get paid by every deal they're doing, or you get income. And the splits are so small now. So it's tough to make a living. So you don't have that one-on-one attention. You don't have that focus. So that's why teams have been super successful, is because they've actually given people that focus and that nurturing and that attention to detail and that, shadowing somebody along and not just, being there to answer some questions on a deal, but actually walking the walk and talking the talk every single day in real estate. So I think it's incredibly important to get that, whether you get it from a team or whether you actually have a mentor or whether you have a broker of record that's willing to do that. You need to have that as a new agent.
So I'm assuming, Anastasia, that you have something very similar to say, because you're coming from a franchise model versus an independent.
Yeah. So what's really interesting and kind of cool is that while we're still, a franchise of Royal Lepage, we still are independently owned and operated. So if you go across the province, across the country, each individual brokerage is operated a little bit differently, and you'll see brokerages of varying sizes as well. So we're one of the smaller brokerages, I'd say, in comparison to, Royal Lepage as a whole and as a franchise. But yeah, like David said, seeking that training and that mentorship, whether that's a part of a team, what I've found, at least in our marketplace, some of the team structures are more, they're more set up so that individual people have an individual role or responsibility. So whether that's working primarily with first-time home buyers or working primarily with listings or assisting with the marketing or doing the cold calling. There's a lot of different ways in which it's set up. And I agree 100% with what David said. Whatever that support looks like for you, it is very important. We're professionals. We want to, maintain the integrity and the professionalism of our industry. So working with people that, you admire and that you sort of want to aspire to be as well, and can learn from them and kind of run with it and go from there. But definitely you want to jump in with both feet, because once you're actually up and running, that's when you'll learn the most.
Just to piggy one quick comment on that point too. Sorry about the echo. It's so important. And I think we're in a digital age now that we've been in for the last 5 or 10 years, but like, it's so easy to have mentors that you actually don't even know. Just that you're following on Instagram, you're following on social platforms. And like there's so many people that I really look up to in this business. Like take, for example, like Raj Qsar out of Orange County. Like, I think he is the most forward thinking video realtor out there. He's never met me, but I follow everything he does online. Every time he's in a webinar, I'm always there, and I'm able to soak that in and get that education and not even like really know the guy one-on-one. Right. So don't think of it just as like, oh, I can't find a mentor because nobody wants to take me on.
You're right about that, David, because I don't know if you guys know Tatiana Langiano from the Langiano group in Montreal. She was really big in the early 2000s on a show on HGTV. And we connected, and like me, she has no filter. And I look at a lot of things at what she does and what I try to, because very similar markets, downtown Montreal, downtown Toronto, different price points, different speed of the market, but still very easy to, kind of copy what each other does. So we've kind of had this back and forth not mentorship, but more like collaboration. And just like everyone watching here today, this is a great spot for people to take information from it and, gain an online mentor, right? Where you might want to bounce ideas off of each other because maybe you have a similar connection to, another style that someone's doing in OREA that might work in your market that's 200 kilometers east or west, whatever the case is. So my next question is, we've started with new agent getting that mentorship. Where are we going from there? Let's say you're on a team now, right? Do you have on your teams, I know Anastasia, you brought this up quickly, people who have predefined roles? So I know a couple of teams here, big teams here in Toronto, they have like 2 or 3 listing specialists, 4 or 5 buyer specialists. Then they've got, a stager and an in-house designer and, a personal admin and a real estate admin. Like there's a whole thing there. So what do the roles look like on your team?
Sure. If you don't mind, I'll jump in on that one. So David and I connected yesterday, and one of the things that came up in our conversation that I still hold to be really true is if you're looking to start a team, because I feel like that sort of is part of the question, I would say figure out what you love doing and figure out what you're good at and what you really enjoy. Because there's, like you said, James, there's so many different aspects to a real estate transaction that if you're thinking about scaling up and growing your business, start with the things that you really enjoy and you love doing, and do that SWOT analysis. Figure out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, your threats, your opportunities, and from there you can kind of fill in the blanks. So if you're really good at working with first-time home buyers, maybe you want to keep working with first-time home buyers, or maybe you want to start a team where you can teach other people to do that too because you love it so much. I think there are just little pieces that come into play. And yeah, determining what you want and where your systems need to be created, and then, filling people in as you go and assessing where they fit in that too.
And just to to piggyback on that point there too. And like, if you look at a traditional team, you're right. Like there's like a team lead and there's going to be 4 buyers agents. And then there's the person that's actually the head of the marketing. That's the face of everything. And I just think like, that's not the team that I wanted to build. I wanted to surround myself with a lot of like-minded people that wanted to focus on a common goal and pushing that common goal forward. And like, for me, it's kind of like cheesy, but it's like to redefine the role of a realtor, like to like in the expectation in the consumer's mind, we want to like the bar is here, I believe, and I want it to be here. So I encourage them all to be listing agents, and I encourage them all to really grow their business and their individual the clients. Now, at the end of the day, I'm still like, we're doing a central CRM, like we're doing pushing things up from the top level. It's the same message that's getting communicated. Our listings all look the same. I hire and pay for the stager, the photos, the video on everything we do, so that everything has a certain level of criteria and a bar that every listing is going to meet, so that again, you get the consistency where you walk into a Tim Hortons anywhere in Ontario or Canada and it's going to look the exact same. That's what I want for our listings. And that's how I feel the team feel for us at Lake City more than anything.
And there's a word to that, David. You know what that word is?
My probably 4th year marketing textbook would have it. I can't think of it out offhand right now, but
branding. Simple.
Yeah, branding. Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. It's good consistency over and over and over and over. Because someone's going to see, there's an agent here in my market. She works the West End of Toronto, and I could just look at one single photo, and I know it's exactly who that listing agent is, without even having to look at the bottom of the MLS. I just know from that one photo. Same thing with you. If you have that same aesthetic with your marketing and know, right, exactly coffee day mug, right? Yeah. No one's going to think, oh my God, this is not a Lake City Realty brokerage or a listing, because they know over and over and over again what they're expecting to see.
And it's so like, it's before I even thought about that, or before I even thought about putting together this, like there was certain agents, especially early on in the business, that it was almost a pleasure to always show their homes, because you knew that you would walk through. For me, it was this smaller team in my marketplace, but they're amazing realtors. And like every time I go to show their listing, it's going to be amazing. It's going to look amazing. It's going to be fully finished. It's going to be complete. It's going to show nice. Like, and that's what I wanted to aspire to and try to achieve with our team. Right. So.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of ways to take some of that inspiration and bring it into your own. Like maybe you have there's a team in your market or an agent that you would aspire to kind of emulate, and take that and spin it in your own way to make it yourself. And it's all about evolving your personal brand, which grows into your team brand, and over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. So now we've kind of gone all over the place here, because my brain tends to do that with you guys. If you've seen a few of our webinars, you know that I bounce a lot. I've never run by a script. I'm a very informal chair. But now let's say we want to start our own team. David, you talked previously about how just looking now to hire a personal assistant. And while I don't have a full-time admin for my business, I have a personal assistant, someone who works for my partner and I, and she does things like dry cleaning and banking and groceries and things like that. That takes away the stress from my life. But now, if you're looking to start a team, what is that first person you hire, and at what income level do you hire that person? And either one of you can jump in and answer that.
Do you want me to jump in? Or?
Yeah, go for it. I have my thoughts, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, there's no right answer here, but before you ever start a team, you should have your own personal, like you should have your an assistant hired first, because you want to have staff that's actually able to, like, it's not. And maybe you have this informal relationship where like I have an abundance of leads, I don't have time to deal with them, and I'm giving them to agents. That's not a team, but that's working towards a team model. But you want to, like, as an individual agent, you're at the level where it could be whatever level that you're at. Maybe you're completely comfortable and you're happy with, doing a bunch of business, or maybe you're like, you do 5 deals and that's your capacity. But if you want additional help, then you've hired admin, you're creating systems. With those systems, you're putting yourself in the position where you can expand. And then at that point, like, again, it's really asking yourself, what is the goal of it? Like, is the goal to build something? Is the goal to just sell more houses? Because if that is, like, sure, putting people around you will do that. But like, that shouldn't be your goal. If your goal is just to sell more houses, honestly, you're probably going to make more money as an individual agent that's just out there, like with a bunch of assistants. But like, if your goal is actually to build something and to, for me, I've got 3 little kids and I want them to point and be like, Dad did that. Like that's legacy, and I want to build legacy. And to me, that's what I'm trying to do with what I'm doing in this business. So it's a tough question, but I think at whatever level you feel busy, whether you're doing, 100,000 or 300,000 or 50,000, and you're like, at this point, I would be so much less stressed if I gave 10% or 20% of whatever I'm making on paper and put it towards hiring like an assistant. And at that point, then, creating the systems that are going to let you grow and going to let you expand. And the other thing that I've heard it a few times, and it's a good mindset to come from, is like, if you're thinking about making a hire and, $20 an hour, 2,000 working hours a year, so it's $40,000 that's going to cost you. You're not making a decision for $40,000 today. You're making a decision of like, give it a 3-month trial. So you're making a decision of, can I earmark $10,000 in my business to go towards this? And then like, if you can, you give it a 3 months and you see where you're at with things.
I like that. We'll talk more about that in just a few minutes, but I do want to hear Anastasia's opinion and comments on the same topic.
Yeah, thanks. And very similarly to what I said earlier on, I really think it depends on, what it is that you're trying to create. What is your objective here? And really evaluating how you work now. And again, those strengths, weaknesses, threats, opportunities, and where you can kind of hire in place of those. Once you've assessed that. So to answer the question as to, who do you hire first, really depends. Like, there's no right or wrong answer. Perhaps it's an assistant, perhaps it's another realtor. And you're referring those, those deals out because you have so many leads coming in. It's going to vary on an individual basis when it comes down to the actual starting of a team. But definitely start with your vision. Like, what is it that you're trying to create, and then assess what you've got going on right now and how you can actually put those little pieces in place so you can get there.
Yeah, I wish I could add that, but I can't. You guys have just completely closed that little chapter. We're going to move on to the next question I have for you, and it's, you've now hired your assistant. We figured out what we're paying them, so we're going to talk about like the short-term contract in a few minutes. But who's next on a team? So you have your admin. Are you hiring a showing agent or a listing agent or a partner?
So I work with my brother. We're 50-50 partners. Like I said, we're in a brokerage of 18 agents. So a lot of times the way that we sort of sort that out is by referring our clients if we're on the go. And, we think sometimes too, actually, we'll get a lead that comes in and I know one of my agents is going to work with them perfectly. Just for example, we had a waterfront lead come in, and one of my agents lives on this lake and she knows everything there is to know about it. I knew that she would best represent that client. So it was a matter of, again, assessing whose strengths are where and ensuring that your clients are taken care of to the best of your ability. And sometimes that means knowing that that might not be you, even if you can give it 100%. Going back to my brother, so him and I kind of share in both the listing side and the buying side. But I would say what comes next, again, what does your business look like? Are you working with a lot of buyers and you don't have enough time to show all the houses? Then you want to hire a showing agent. Perhaps you have so many people that want to list a house and you don't have time to do that either. Then you want to hire a listing agent. So again, really understanding what it is that you need for your model and the way that you have your business now and where you want it to go.
The way I would approach that is like, if you want to build a traditional team that you look pull up a newspaper, or like if you're reading newspapers or whatever, like look at your MLS and like the team structure, you're going to be the listing agent because list to last, and you're the face of the company and stuff like that, and that's your name on the signs, and you're going to get all these duty calls or sign calls and Facebook messages or whatever, and then that's kind of the low-hanging fruit that you're going to be cycling back to your buyers agents and your showing agents. But for myself, again, like that's not my goal with building a team. My goal is just to surround myself with like-minded individuals that want to do a really great job and continue to like elevate that bar. So I want them all to be listing agents, and I want them to be amazing with their sphere as well. And then we're there to help each other out into, especially with newer agents, they can funnel off and they can, help out with some of the abundance of clients that we have to deal with. And like, I've got 3 little kids, and, I'm in an old world that in the olden days, I would be coaching soccer and hockey and all that stuff. So like, I don't have the time to be out there showing properties and meeting with clients at certain times. Like, sure, I can handle what's on my plate, but anything more than that is something that I'm just going to be passing off to some of the agents in my office.
I want to just pop in here because I saw Rebecca, thanks for mentioning that in the chat. And I did say too many leads. I'm going to say that there's no such thing as too many leads. I guess what I was really meaning to mention is, yeah, this abundance, let's say, of interest, whether it's people that are just inquiring about a house, no matter where they are in their, in their search or what it may be. Again, just having the people in place to respond to those in a timely manner, because again, on David's point, we only have so much time in a day, and as much as we want to do everything, we can't. And then the other point, sorry, I saw another message that came in. When you say hiring, do I mean on an hourly wage or as an employee? Okay, so that's the other piece when we're talking about hiring and how we want to bring people on our team. So I would say if you're looking at, an assistant, you're likely going to be paying them an hourly wage, and perhaps that's part-time, perhaps that's full-time. Again, it's based on what your needs are. Perhaps though you're bringing somebody on and you're paying them, a percentage of your commission. You can structure that again, however it is that you see fit.
So we'll get to some of the questions in the chat in a little bit.
Sorry, I'm just reading them.
No, I know. I saw the one that Rebecca dropped in. I was going to get into that as well. So talking about leads, how are you structuring that? Are you guys, and I'm not going to drop like lead generating companies, but are you spending $800 a month on a certain website provider, or are you farming your database, or how are you structuring your leads? And how are you, and I know Anastasia, you said like you give them to the agents who suit that best, but how are you structuring those leads? How are they coming in for you, and how are you farming them out to your agents?
Like I'll hop on that first. And like, so on the back end, we use Curator. I think it's one of the, I like it because it's exclusive for our marketplace. Like they're amazing. It's almost like it's like a mentorship group to be able to look at like the back end of the Facebook, and like they're just always available. If any agents haven't started yet, honestly, this is probably the best book for real estate. Is exactly what to say. It's specifically to real estate, like in every situation and things like that. I give it to every single new agent that joins our office. So like it's a great hub. And then also, like, again, we went to the point where like James, we chatted about earlier, where like I have mentors that there's people like the North Group, like Amy doesn't know who I am at all, but I look at her and I think she's an absolute rock star. And it turns out the curator's running her system. I'm like, I want to get to know that more, because like clearly something's working really well there. Right. So, and then we don't do anything traditional. So like we're not in newspapers and things like that, but like we're almost like, we pride ourselves on being all social and online and things like that. And then there's a ton of leads that come in through there. And sure, there's like for every 100 internet leads, there's only 1 or 2 that actually are something, but it's all part of like a drip campaign. But then beyond that is like really just focusing on like the biggest mistake I see any new agent make is not having a database. So keeping the database from day one. Every conversation, every interaction with that client should be going in there and chronicled, so that you can remember those conversations. You can show up with their kind of coffee. I'm sure James has a very specific type of coffee order from Starbucks. And if you showed up 2 years after the fact and you gave him that coffee order, like that would be amazing, right? Like that's showing that high level of customer service. So like you can't remember those things, but take every opportunity you can to work your database and build those things in there. And that's going to be your referral business. And then sure, you're going to be focusing on online leads and conversion and stuff like that in the background. I know just right now in the marketplace, like we're too busy to focus on too much of that. So we're just trying to get through day by day, I feel like sometimes.
Yeah, I understand that. I get an influx of rental leads just through my social media alone. You guys have followed me online for a while. I'm very active on socials. So I get a lot of rental inquiries, and I'm thankful that I have a brokerage with a lot of junior agents that I can farm them out to. And I do want to go into some junior agent talk shortly in contracts, because I've always mentored junior agents for a short little while. I give them again, to David's point about the admin, a 3-month window. I don't pay them. I help them grow their business. I take the lead on their listings. They work their buys, but I review their contracts, and they run all my rentals. At what point with you guys, when you're working with either a new hire, an admin, or a new agent or junior agent, are you letting them go? For me, it's 3 months. I want 90 days with you to kind of give you a little bit of training. If you want to continue working with me moving forward, great. I'll put you under my umbrella. Other than that, I want you to spread your wings and fly, because I don't have the attention span to mentor people. We've been over this, David, you and I, in numerous chats. You know, I applaud both of you for running big, successful teams. And David, you're doing it with 3 young kids. Like, I can barely put myself together in the mornings. I don't know how you do with 3 kids, but so when you were talking about your admin, giving them a 3-month contract, you're paying them $10,000. So basically 3,300, whatever it is for the month kind of thing, for those 90 days. And what happens after that? Are you giving them a revision, you know, prior to their contract ending?
And again, I'm not an expert on this because like our last few hires have been amazing and rock stars have been with us for a long time. And now we're actually just at a point where we're a little bit in turmoil because we're replacing 2 people all at once in our office. So like it's not a fun time to be in. And I just have to remind myself of that advice that, you know what, we're making short-term decisions. We're going to learn on the job, because trying to, again, when you're a team lead, like you're no longer an agent. Now you're a CEO of a company and you have to hire, and like human resources is on your mind and things like that. So like you need to be able to give attention to that, and trying to interview somebody and learn what you can through a FaceTime interview or like a Zoom interview, it's not great. You got to see what they're like on the job, right? So that's kind of where I had to remind myself and take my own advice on in terms of that. There was an earlier part of that question. It just slipped my mind, James, but yeah.
I think it was, I speak so quickly, I just want to bring up my own questions. Well, if it pops into whatever head, we'll come back to it. But Anastasia, any echoes to that sentiment?
Yeah, so we actually recently hired somebody too for our back end of the business. But to mention, like to David's point as well, when you're running a team and you're now the team lead, you're now like, yeah, the CEO, you have to kind of figure everything out. Not to say that you have to do it alone. Like there are definitely, you know, people that are willing to, like we said, mentor, people you look up to, and whether you know them or you don't, there's a lot of resources that are available to you. But I would definitely say, yeah, you start considering things that you haven't necessarily considered when you're when you're selling real estate. Like for example, yeah, the actual hiring, the actual, you know, making sure everybody gets paid. You're now responsible not just for you, but everybody else that's, you know, beneath your umbrella. So you can do it, you know, you just got to do it. That's all. So
I think I'll just to piggyback on that point too, like for myself, even when I was an agent from day one, I really looked at it as running a business. And like there were people in my office that are like, oh, they hit their goals, like they're just taking off and they're just going to go enjoy and stuff like that. I'm just like, no, like we're really running our own business, and you need to put the time in. You need to be able to be accountable to yourself and things like that. Like showing up to the office was always important to me as opposed to just working from home. So I've always looked at myself as running a business, and then expanding on that and creating a team was kind of fitting for me. So I think if you were just an agent that is just really content doing what you're doing, then you're probably not meant to grow a team. And that's completely cool too. Like do what's you, and, you know, be truthful and honest to what you are and what your strengths are.
No, agreed. I got a few more questions before we go into the actual open Q&A portion. How are you guys structuring commission on your teams? Like, how is that breakdown?
I'll jump in on that. So again, like I think, and again, we can, one important piece of advice I heard from one of those mentors West was do a SWOT analysis on other brokerages and other teams before you start your own team, just to figure out what's out there, and then figure out how you're going to differ, how you're going to kind of position yourself there. But we're not a traditional team. Like I control and I spend a lot of money on the marketing and the staging, and like I've got my own staging warehouse for all of our listings and stuff like that. So like I focus on creating that high level at the back end. So I charge 25% on every listing, like on every like deal within our office. And then if it's an office generated lead, which we try to give some opportunities, but like if I give you a client to use once, then, and if you're able to convert them, then they're your client forever. So it's a 50-50 split on the first office generated. And then if they're your client and you've done a great job with them, then it's going to be 75-25 for them moving forward.
Yeah, and I'll speak to kind of how we're structured here. So everyone that's kind of new to our team, our brokerage, if you will, is on a 70-30. We provide a lot of support in terms of the front end. So with marketing, preparing listings, communicating with your sellers to ensure that the whole front end of the process is smooth and going forward well. Yeah, we also have a photographer as well that we like to use, again, to maintain the consistency across the realtors. We also have a lot of back-end support too, which is really nice. But I'd say that some of the realtors, like, yeah, as they start creating their own businesses, and they really are like become a lot more independent. They do have splits that are reflective of that. So we have some people on our teams that are 80-20. It kind of changes. Like I would say we're also not the traditional model. If it's like one of my personal clients and I'm referring them out to somebody else, I'll also get another 25% of that particular commission. So I think what's really interesting, and to David's point too, is understanding what teams are doing in your marketplace, because every marketplace is so different. And even in ours, like we have some teams that are on a 50-50. I've seen some teams where they're actually just on like a fixed fee per deal. Like they make $1,500 per deal that they do. So it's not even like a percent of commission or anything like that. So again, look at what's happening in your marketplace, look at what it is that you kind of want to achieve, how you want to grow your business, and then make that decision for you, because really only you know how you want to best do it. But definitely look and keep an eye as to see what people are doing around you.
I love that. So we have some time for some Q&A, and there's one question that I'm reading right here. It says, any advice on what tasks that can be delegated to a licensed assistant versus unlicensed assistant, and what tools are you using for tracking and accountability?
So like license, like again, for like especially under RICO, we can talk about it's trade, like that's the definition they use, right? So as long as they're like an unlicensed assistant can do anything that's not designated as trade, and like follow up, even like it's weird that they like RICO views like asking for feedback as trade, which whether you agree with that or not kind of thing, but like whatever you can delegate that's not trade, put it on that unlicensed assistant's plate. For us, like again, we sat on like, this is the people where I look up to them and they don't even know that I'm looking up to them. But Amy from the North Group, like my whole team sat on a session they did, and they use Slack so effectively on the back end for like inter-office communications within the team. So we're heavy on Slack right now. Every deal, every listing, every piece of data goes to Slack with whatever channel that we're focused on, whether it's a buyer channel or seller channel. And then in addition to that, we use a project management software, Asana, to track closing dates, due dates, what paperwork's missing and things like that. And I know Monday is another good option there, but we prefer Asana just with our team. So between Asana and Slack, we're doing all of our back office communication at least.
Anastasia, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I have a couple of points. I keep getting distracted by the questions. I keep looking at those and I'm like, oh, I want to say something, but okay, we're going to get to those. So yeah, for the licensed assistant versus the unlicensed assistant, yeah, what David said. So for example, if they're unlicensed, maybe you get them to do, prepare your client gifts, manage your schedule, like, those little odds and ends that aren't involved necessarily in trade. If they're licensed, maybe you get them to go show houses for you, you get them to start preparing offers for you, doing that follow-up as well. Does that answer the question? Is that the question?
Yeah. Another thing unlicensed assistant can do for you is drive. They can drive your car, because if you think about when we're out on the road, how much we have to deal with, and it's illegal to use our phone while we're driving, right? So an unlicensed admin acts as a driver and really increases your productivity. Mm-hmm. So another question here, and this is really interesting, that the fact that I have two broker record team leaders sitting with me. Isn't making a team similar to opening your own brokerage?
You want me to jump in? Or?
Yeah, go for it.
And like to me, it's 100% similar. And then you get started in your own brokerage and you're like, oh, I've got to worry about trust accounts, and I got to worry about RICO registrations, and I got to worry about like all that stuff. If you're a team within an office, then like you can push all that stuff on your broker of record, and like you don't have to worry about trust monies and things like. Well, I know that some teams are running their own trust accounts, I believe, but yeah, like there's so much additional levels of just responsibility and just making sure that from my perspective, if I was running a team, I don't care about the back end lone wolf system. Like I don't need to hire somebody to make sure deals are inputted and deals are getting sent to lawyers and stuff like that. That's all going to be handled from the brokerage perspective. Now that falls under my plate, that I'm a brokerage leader. But again, for myself, it's running a company, and it's kind of what I wanted to aspire to, and I wanted to grow and get to that level, and I wanted to have that creative control and create that brand that's associated with just myself and my team, and that's worth it in my mind.
Yeah, so I totally agree with what David had to say. They are very similar, but yeah, once you're actually like a broker of record, there are a lot of different responsibilities that are now that now do fall on your plate. Include like the biggest one, honestly, is yeah these account reconciliations. At least it is for me. But yeah, having a team within a brokerage. My advice to those of you who are thinking of creating a team: talk to your brokerage, like whatever brokerage you're part of, talk to your broker of record, ask them what's the structure that they have in place, because they likely already have something in mind too. So for example, like if I'm, running a brokerage and I have an agent on, and let's say they're on a 70-30, and they start having somebody work for them, you have to understand kind of how the commission is going to flow between that team, between that new realtor that I'm now still responsible for as the broker of record. So I would say start with a conversation with your broker of record, see if there are any teams within that brokerage first. How did they set it up? How do they manage those splits? And that would be a really good just starting point, because again, depending on where you are, certain brokerages are going to have that structured differently and have different responsibilities delegated depending on what that team looks like.
There are also some really good, we're not going to plug any brand here, but there are also some really good coaching companies out there that deal specifically with teams, helping you get set up, helping you grow, and then when you get that certain income level, helping you maintain that level of marketplace. So that those are all good things to keep in the back of your mind when building and creating your team. We talk about this a lot in our own business with our client culture, but what qualities should we be looking for an admin or team member? So is culture like the biggest thing for you, or what else is there that you're looking at?
I want to hop in here just because so we've been like, for a small office of we're 3 agents, and my dad's basically semi-retired, so maybe 4 if you counted him, so 3.5 for a long time. And we did a really, not to pump our own breaks, but we were doing awesome maybe 150 deals for 3 or 4 agents kind of thing, right? So I'm like, what makes us so successful? And what is it? We care about our clients, but everybody cares about their clients. But really what I honestly believe it is our culture. And it was the culture at Team Kurt, and now it's the culture at Lake City. So, and that's why hiring is so important to me. It's the individuals that come in, but it's also the teammates that we bring on. And we call them teammates. They're not buyer agents and stuff like that, because everybody has to be such a great fit with our culture. And I've actually turned away 5 people in the last few months, just because I'm like, you know what, we just hired a bunch. I want to make sure we're working well before I'm going to hire again. So culture is the most important thing. But culture isn't the same, right? So culture for us, we're really tech focused, and I'm constantly pushing the boundaries, and I'm constantly reaching out, and I want to provide that highest level of service. And so whatever, figure out what your personal culture is and what your personal goals are, and then build it off that. But culture doesn't have to be the same across the board, but it's so important to growing your individual's business, your team business, or your eventual brokerage business.
I'm going to second that, David. Culture is very important to me as well. It's definitely number one. We have been the last 4 months without an admin. We had numerous people apply for the job. And I felt like with all the applicants that we had at the time, yeah, they didn't fit in my culture. Again, not all cultures are going to be the same. We don't call our people, our realtors, teammates. We call them fam, the Royal Lepage fam. Because we're smaller, at least in our marketplace as well. And yeah, culture is big. So we finally hired somebody, thank goodness, and she's been phenomenal. But you can tell too, the energy that she brings into the workplace every day it meshes well, right? And I think that to me is more important than having friction between my realtors, and knowing that they have the support that they need so they can go out there and do what they do best.
I love that. I'm pretty sure when you guys are hiring. Sorry, there's a bit of echo on my side. Is that better? Sorry, I'm just in a room here that has really high ceilings, and it bounces a little bit if I move my face in a certain way. So where I was going with this was, I'm sure you get to a point of, you look at who you're hiring, and you can automatically know if it's going to mesh well with your team, and you're not going to bring someone on who's going to, maybe ruffle feathers or turn someone else on your team off.
Yeah. Just to get back to some of the people that are in chat too, where do you, I saw a lot about where do they go to find a team, or where do they go to hire a team? Honestly, if you don't know who the teams are in your marketplace, like just pick up go on MLS and be like, who's like, look at your neighborhood, for example, and be like, whose signs am I seeing everywhere? And more than likely there's some agent signs. So like, and then research, do I like this team? And like, hopefully they have a really good web presence, because that's everything in this day and age. And like, if they don't, then there's probably not the team you want to join. So like, if you have to ask who the teams are, like, you haven't done 8 seconds worth of research. And then in addition to that, like if the teams that you're really interested in don't have a good presence, it's probably not a team you want to join. And then from the broker side is, where do you hire? Honestly, like I like reiterating the story. Is I built, like when I built Lake City, I'm like, I'm going to build it. And then it's like Field of Dreams. I'm going to build this thing. And then everyone's going to say, hey, can I join? Hey, can I join? And I built this and nobody came and asked me to join. And I'm like, oh, I guess I have to give some more time and energy to recruiting and stuff like that. And then, and we're still working on a really great recruiting page, and like focused on really, praising our agents and like the get to know the agent in 20 questions and stuff like that. But then really cycling that back to like showing the attention we give to the agents. And then having it like, are you interested in a coffee chat with Dave, that kind of thing. So again, just, do you believe in, here's the values of a company, here's what we're providing. Is this something that you believe in? If it is, then maybe you could be a good fit. But then again, only hire when you're ready, because it's easy to hire. It's tough to hire and then still manage and make sure that you're going to grow something for the long term.
Yeah.
If I may add, just as a side note, when we're talking about hiring team members and where to go about hiring them and whatnot, or how you go about hiring them, I just want to mention there's a team in my marketplace, and one of their requirements, like for just the application, is to submit a video of you talking, introducing yourself. Because again, for them, their culture, it's very important that you can, get out there, get out. For me, sometimes it's outside of my comfort zone too, joining on a webinar, but I can't see all you people staring at me, so it's not so bad. But to that point, right, everybody's going to be different. So just understanding, like, do the research. David, I really liked what you had to say. It's 8 seconds worth of research. You see a name, type it into Google, all the results are there. So
let's hope so.
Yeah.
I love everything we've talked about today. Just keeping an eye on the time here. David, Anastasia, I want to thank you guys both so much, not only for today, but for the last year, right? This is our last meeting of the three of us together now that the YPN committee changes hands. So thank you again for everything. I look forward to seeing you both in person, hopefully very soon. I plan on coming up to both your marketplaces over the summer. And for those watching, our next webinar, I believe, is June 9th. We're going to talk about social media. We have not announced who our guests will be that day yet, so please keep your eyes open. If your question wasn't answered or you have some follow-up questions, please keep an eye on the OREA Facebook YPN page, and we will be adding in this video link, I believe, by the end of the week, if not right after the long weekend, depending on when editing is done. It will be up live. It'll also be living full-time on OREA's YouTube page. And any other questions, I encourage you to please drop them in Facebook, and someone will answer them.
I just want to take 2 seconds and say, James, like, you've been an awesome team lead, and you're an awesome director as well. So like, I've seen you grow so much in the last like 2 years as from your volunteer work and stuff like that. And I remember being in the room when you got first elected. So you're doing an awesome job. Thanks for doing a great job on the panel again. And Anastasia, it's always great to see you as well. So
yeah, likewise.
Thanks.
Love you guys. Love the YPN group. Have a great day.
Bye guys, be safe.
Ciao, everyone.